The Legend of Jigong, Chapter 74.
The monk sets up the scene and then promptly vanishes. He just bails.
He really does. He directs 3 martial heroes, Yang Ming, Lei Ming, and Chen Liang, to head north, and then he's just gone.
So they wander into a forest and they spot a man named Hua Yunlong standing next to the true focus of our discussion today, an absolute behemoth of a human being named Lu Tong.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we need to start with the anatomy of this giant.
Oh, absolutely. The physical description is wild.
The text specifically categorizes him as a Hunrin, or a simpleton brute, and the physical description we get of Lu Tong is so overwhelmingly specific.
Yeah, they don't hold back at all.
Not at all. So he is originally from Jiangfeng County. He lost his father early, and he lives in extreme poverty with his mother, who survives by just doing needlework.
Barely scraping by, basically. Right. But by the time Lu Tong is 16 years old, he is described as being 10 feet tall, with a head the size of a wheat bushel and a face like the bottom of a black pot.
It's almost cartoonish, honestly.
It is. It's totally cartoonish.
It is a textbook example of classical hyperbole. You know, a literary device meant to immediately signal to the reader that his physical form is completely out of scale with normal humanity.
Right.
But what makes this description so critical isn't just his size. It's the meticulous detail paid to his clothing.
Oh my gosh, the outfit.
Right. He is supposed to be incredibly impoverished, yet the text describes him wearing a black satin 6-petal hero's cap, an arrow sleeve robe, a silk belt, an unlined jacket, and thin-soled boots.
Which makes zero sense for a kid whose mom is sewing for scraps.
Not at all.
Like, that outfit is the highly stylized professional uniform of a formidable martial arts hero. It's tactical gear for the era.
Yeah, he's dressed for war.
And he's casually carrying a 4-sided iron mace, which is a weapon of pure blunt force trauma, not finesse. So he looks like a seasoned warlord.
But his mind is completely different.
Exactly. The core psychological trait here, the whole definition of a Hunrin, completely contradicts this terrifying visual.
What's fascinating here is that the term Hunrin is deeply important to unpack.
Yeah, let's get into that.
It translates roughly to an unrefined person or a brute, but in this specific literary and cultural context, it carries a very precise psychological weight.
Like, it doesn't just mean he's mean.
No, exactly. It does not mean he is malicious, sadistic, or evil. It means he literally lacks the mental software to understand human affairs.
He's just blank.
Right. He has no programming for social norms, empathy, or property rights. He is a blank slate armed with a weapon of mass destruction.
I picture it like a newly spawned video game character where you get to assign stats.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, so whoever built Lu Tong put absolutely every single available point into strength and constitution.
Maxed him out completely.
Maxed them out. But they left 0 points in intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. So you have this character who just bumps into walls, breaks things by accident, and operates on completely nonsensical dialogue trees because the underlying logic just isn't there.
That analogy actually captures the mechanics of his existence perfectly. His physical capacity is dialed up to 100, but his cognitive understanding of cause and effect is stuck at 0.
Just totally absent.
Right. He is driven entirely by immediate functional needs, and the text illustrates this beautifully and terrifyingly with the incident of the flatbread.
Oh, this story is wild.
It really sets the stage. His mother, Wang Shi, is aging and frail. They are starving. She looks at her massive 16-year-old son and tells him that since he has no usable skills, he can't carry a load or lift a basket, he needs to go find them some food.
So she presents a basic problem. We need food. And his solution is pure, unadulterated, linear logic.
Straight line A to B.
Exactly. He walks outside, sees a random kid holding 2 pounds of flatbread, slaps the kid in the face, takes the bread, and walks back home. Here you go, Mom. Problem solved.
He recognizes a resource, recognizes he is physically superior to the person holding the resource, and transfers ownership through a slap.
Just like that.
Yeah, he doesn't understand the morality of theft or assault. But what is truly revealing here is how his mother reacts to this behavior.
This is the part that really got me. So she asks where he got it, and he tells her the exact truth.
He has no reason to lie.
Right, he has no shame because he doesn't know what shame even is. Now, I would expect a parent in this situation to be horrified, right, to explain that hurting people is wrong, that stealing is a sin.
Normal parental reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she doesn't do that at all. She merely warns him about the law. She says, The nation has laws. If you rob people on the street and get caught, it will be disastrous.
Exactly, and this is where we have to look at the psychological framing being built here.
Mhm.
She bypasses morality entirely and goes straight to legality and consequence.
Which is such a specific choice by the author.
It is. If we look at developmental psychology, specifically Kohlberg's stages of moral development, the very first stage is obedience driven solely by the fear of punishment.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, Luton's mother knows she cannot explain abstract concepts of empathy to a hundred mission. She can only appeal to his sense of self-preservation.
But the flaw in that logic is that he has absolutely no reason to fear punishment.
Right. Who's going to punish him?
Exactly. He realizes very quickly that no one in this small town can physically stop him. The constraint she tried to impose, the fear of the authorities catching him, is totally ineffective because he's basically invincible.
He's untouchable.
So actions aren't good or bad to him. They are just things you do until a physical barrier stops you. And since there is no physical barrier, he just makes a habit of robbing people.
Which sets him on a direct collision course with the established social order. He transitions from petty theft to robbing shops owned by a man named Wu Xiaolian.
Okay, tell us about Wu Xiaolian.
Right, and this interaction introduces us to the most powerful legal and moral loophole in this society, which is filial piety.
Okay, let's look at Wu Xiaolian. He is described as a wealthy, philanthropic local pillar of the community.
A very respected guy.
Yeah, a big deal in town. He sees this giant kid robbing his storefront in broad daylight, and his initial reaction is exactly what you'd expect. He orders his guards to seize Lu Tong and prepare his calling card for the local government office to have him arrested.
He is enforcing the rule of law. That's his first instinct.
Right, but before the guards can act, an old man intervenes and fundamentally changes the framing of the crime.
This is such a crucial pivot.
It really is. The old man explains to Wu that this giant is a simpleton, he lives in poverty, but crucially, he's incredibly devoted to his mother. He's only stealing to feed her.
And Wu Xiaolian hears this, and his entire demeanor just flips.
It's crazy. He is so moved by the fact that this brute is stealing for his mom that he just drops the charges.
Just like that.
Wait, so armed robbery is fine as long as you're a good son. That logic feels identical to modern PR spin to me.
How do you mean?
You know, like when a CEO gets caught embezzling millions, but their PR team pivots the narrative by showing a photo op of them building houses for orphans.
Ah, I see.
Like a good backstory suddenly makes people overlook the actual harm being done.
I see why you'd make that connection to modern PR, but we have to recognize a massive distinction here.
Okay, what is it?
PR spin is cynical and calculated, right? The people in this village aren't spinning a narrative for the press. They are trapped in a profound cultural paradigm where filial piety, or jiao, is literally the highest moral law of the universe.
Wow, the highest moral law.
Yes. In classical Chinese society, heavily influenced by Confucianism, devotion to one's parents wasn't just a nice trait. It was the foundation of the legal and social order.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it went that deep.
Oh, absolutely. A truly filial son was viewed as having a fundamentally good core, regardless of his other flaws. The local magistrates would actually weigh filial intent against criminal damage in historical legal cases.
So it's not an excuse, it's a genuine belief that his soul is pure because he prioritizes his mother.
Exactly. It's structural to their worldview.
But practically speaking, this also gives the community a massive psychological outright.
Well, 100%.
Because if they acknowledge him purely as a criminal, they have to fight a 10-foot-tall monster, and they know they will lose.
They'd be crushed.
Right. But if they reframe him as a misguided filial son, they can address the problem with charity rather than force.
Precisely.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is a societal coping mechanism.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Wu Jialian decides to bypass the robbery entirely. He calls Lu Tong over and offers him a deal. He says, "Stop robbing my shops. Instead, go to my Dayu grain store every single day, and they will give you a daily stipend of 1 string of cash to support you and your mother."
1 string of cash, which I understand is 1,000 copper coins, so it's a very solid daily income.
It's enough to live on, definitely.
He's essentially putting a violent teenager on universal basic income to prevent property damage.
Pretty much, yeah.
And Lu Tong's reaction to this wealthy, respected elder giving him free money for life, he looks at Wu and calls him a good kid.
Yeah, he calls him Hao Xiaozi.
Which is just...
In a society governed by strict age and class hierarchies, a teenager calling a wealthy elder a good kid is absurdly disrespectful.
But Wu just rolls with it.
He really does.
He rationalizes it, thinking, well, I spent one string of cash and earned the title of good kid from a simpleton. Not a bad deal.
He's looking at the ROI on his charity.
Exactly. Wu is assuming that Lu Tong understands the implicit social contract here. Like, I give you money, you feel indebted, and you stay out of trouble.
Right, and for a brief moment, it appears the system works. Lu Tong takes the cash, buys food, brings it home, lets his mother eat first, and only eats the leftovers himself.
Okay, so the disruptive force has been placated through philanthropy.
But charity only works when both sides understand the social contract.
Right.
Wu assumes Lu Tong feels a sense of obligation, but Lu Tong doesn't understand debt or obligation. He only understands his immediate daily requirement to secure food for his mother.
Exactly. And the moment he finds an alternative food source, that fragile, charitable ecosystem instantly collapses.
It totally falls apart.
Which brings us to the mountain, the hunters, and the economics of nuisance. So Lu Tong takes his iron rod and wanders into the mountains to play. And he inadvertently crashes into a massive professional hunting operation.
And this isn't just a couple of guys with bows. There are 21 hunters who have just executed a complex drive, corralling a large number of deer and wildcats.
A huge operation.
Yeah, this is their livelihood. And Lu Tong just wanders out of the trees, uses his iron rod to kill the animals, bundles them up, and starts walking away.
He just claims the loot.
Just takes it all.
The hunters are furious and yell at him that they drove those animals down. And Lu Tong's response is fascinating. He says, "Don't tell me I can't take them. If you want them, try to grab them. Whoever grabs them gets them."
It is the ultimate expression of the Hobbesian state of nature.
It makes right.
Exactly.
Mm.
He has no concept of labor, of the effort the hunters put into the drive, or of property rights. He sees a physical object. He possesses the physical power to hold that object. Therefore, the object is his.
And when they try to stop him...
When the 21 professional hunters try to physically stop him, they are completely decimated. They cannot lay a finger on him.
So he takes their entire haul down to the market and sells it. But because he doesn't understand market value, he just accepts whatever random amount of money people offer him.
He has no idea what it's worth.
Right. Now here is where my brain stalled for a second when reading this. He now has money from selling stolen meat. But he completely stops going to Wu Zhaolian's grain store for his free daily stipend.
He just abandons the easy money.
Wait, hold on. If he's selling the meat for cash, why isn't he also taking the free money from the grain store? He could double his income.
See, that is the logical assumption of anyone operating with standard societal software.
Right.
But to do that requires an understanding of accumulation, of greed, and of planning for the future.
Which he doesn't have.
Lu Tong exhibits stark literalism. His mental loop is highly specific. I need 1 unit of money for today's food for my mother.
And that's it.
Once he acquires that from the meat market, the objective is marked complete. The thought of going to the grain store to get extra money simply doesn't compute because he doesn't understand what extra even means.
Wow.
He exhibits zero greed. He is a purely utilitarian machine.
Which is fascinating psychologically, but for the hunters, it is an absolute disaster.
A daily nightmare.
Every day, this machine comes to the mountain, steals their catch, beats them up, and ruins their business. And they can't use Wu Zhaolian's method of pure charity because Lu Tong is actively destroying their primary source of income.
So the hunters are forced to shift from a philanthropic model to a containment strategy.
Okay, what do?
They hold a meeting, accept that they are physically outmatched, and decide to offer him a deal. They approach him and say, "We will pay you 1 string of cash every single day just to help us hunt, and more importantly, to stop robbing us."
Think about what they are doing here. It is a textbook protection racket, but completely inverted.
It really is.
Normally, the mob boss comes to a business and says, "Nice place, shame if it burned down, pay me." Here, the business owners are going to the mob boss, who doesn't even realize he's extorting them, and begging him to take a salary just so he stops accidentally destroying their lives.
They are paying a tax to a natural disaster.
That's a perfect way to put it.
They're trying to sandbox him, to give him a designated area and a salary to mitigate his disruption to the wider ecosystem. And Lu Tong agrees, because to him, it's just a different geographical location to fulfill his daily objective.
But this containment strategy relies entirely on his mother being alive to acquire the food.
The whole system is built on her.
And this is where the text hits us with a sequence that is simultaneously heartbreaking and deeply, macabrely comedic. Lutong comes home with his daily food, and he finds his mother lying on the brick bed, unresponsive. She has passed away.
The profound tragedy here is his complete conceptual void regarding mortality.
He just doesn't get it.
He has lived 16 years without forming a framework for death. He stands there telling her it's time to eat, assuming she is simply ignoring him.
The neighbors hear the commotion, come over, and break the news. They say, "Your mother is dead." And Lutong asks a completely genuine question. He says, "What does dead mean?"
It's just devastating.
Think about that. How do you explain an abstract concept like the permanence of loss and the cessation of biological function to someone who only processes immediate physical mechanics?
The neighbors attempt to do it, but they make a critical error.
What do they say?
They try to communicate the gravity of the situation using purely functional descriptions. They say, dead means she won't speak anymore, she won't eat anymore. You need to buy a coffin and bury her. Otherwise, in 2 days, she is going to start smelling.
Oh no, they give him a logistical checklist.
Exactly.
And Lutong, being the ultimate literalist, processes it exactly as instructed. Okay, she won't speak or eat. Put her in a coffin so she doesn't smell.
He just followed the instructions to the letter.
So he picks up his mother's corpse, throws it over his shoulder, and starts walking out the door. The neighbors are horrified and ask where he is going, and his answer makes total sense within his flawed logic. He says, "I'm going to the coffin shop to see which coffin is good, and I'll just put her in it."
Wait, he actually carried her.
Yes, over his shoulder.
He is going window shopping for coffins, and he brought the body to ensure the fit.
It's unbelievable.
It highlights an incredible blend of dark comedy and genuine tragedy. He lacks the cultural programming for grief, for ritual, and for the sanctity of a body. To him, object A needs to go into container B.
The neighbors realize they cannot let him walk through town carrying a corpse. So they stop him and tell him to go ask his employers, the hunters, to buy the coffin. And the hunters actually do it.
Which again speaks to the moral obligation of the community. One hunter points out, he is a filial son. This is a good deed.
Even after everything he's done to them.
Yes, even in death. His foundational innocence and devotion compel the society to prove their money and handle the burial, shielding him from the consequences of his own ignorance.
But the tragic reality of her death creates a massive structural problem for the fragile ecosystem the town built.
The anchor is gone.
Exactly. The mother was the anchor. Without her, why is he still demanding money? Because he operates purely on habit, he stays with the hunters and demands his one string of cash every single day, even though he no longer has a mother to feed.
So the containment strategy breaks down entirely. The hunters were willing to pay the tax when it felt like a charitable necessity for an elderly woman. Now they're just draining their resources to pay a solitary giant out of pure fear.
The trap.
When a system cannot tame or absorb a disruptive force, its final resort is deflection. They have to make him someone else's problem.
Right, and enter Yin Daodi. His name translates roughly to yin to the end, which tells you exactly what kind of guy he is.
Oh, he's a piece of work.
He's a total schemer. Yin realizes you can't reason with Lutong, but you can point him in a direction like a wind-up toy. He tells the other 20 hunters to give him one string of cash each, and he guarantees he can get rid of the giant forever.
Yin Daodi understands psychological manipulation. He knows Lutong is a simpleton, but he also notices that Lutong has developed a burgeoning sense of ego tied to his massive physical size.
Okay, so how does he use that?
Yin takes his 20 strings of cash, invites Lutong to dinner, and begins to flatter him.
He sits him down and says, "Look, hanging out here with us hunters, making one string of cash a day. You're never going to get rich. Don't you want to hit the big time?"
Playing right to that new ego.
Yep.
Lutong asks how, and Yin delivers the payload. He tells him to travel to Chengshan County, find a professional bodyguard named Chasing Cloud Swallow Huang Yen, and demand 200 taels of silver. 200 taels of silver is a staggering fortune compared to daily copper strings. But notice how Yin frames it.
How so?
He doesn't just issue a command, he strokes the ego. He says, with a head like yours, with a size like yours, he has to give it to you.
He's gassing him up.
Exactly. Yin recognizes a class difference in problem solving. As working-class hunters, they lack the resources and martial skill to handle Lutong, so they deflect him toward the martial elite.
Think about your own workplace, When a department gets an employee who is completely incompetent but impossible to fire, What do?
Oh, I know this one.
They write them a glowing recommendation and promote them to another department just to get them off the floor.
Happens all the time.
That is exactly what these 16th century hunters are doing. Yin gives him 2 strings of cash for travel and launches this human missile at an entirely unrelated professional in another county.
And because Lu Tong takes everything literally, he accepts the premise without question.
He just buys it.
He begins his journey to Changshan County. But this journey exposes a massive vulnerability in his existence because his complete lack of social graces creates an absolute vacuum of information.
Oh, this part is amazing. So he arrives in Changshan County, and he needs to find this Huang Yin guy. But he doesn't know how to ask politely.
Of course not.
So he resorts to his only known methodology, which is physical intimidation. He walks up to a random person on the street, grabs them tightly, and says, "Hey, kid, where does Huang Yin live? And if you lie to me, I'm going to chop your head off."
The sheer terror of being an innocent bystander in this scenario is unimaginable.
Just a normal Tuesday.
Right. A 10-foot giant threatening decapitation over a simple request for directions. The bystander stammers out that Huang Yin lives in the inn on the north side of the road.
And Lu Tong drags the man all the way to the inn to verify, lets him go, and starts screaming outside, "Hey, the guy named Huang, bring me my silver!"
Now, inside the inn is Huang Yin. And we need to understand who this guy is. He is a professional in the Piao, the armed escort industry.
Okay, break that down for us. What is the armed escort industry?
Yes, the Biaozhu, or armed escort agencies, were vital institutions in historical China. Before modern banking and secured transit, if merchants needed to move massive amounts of silver or valuable goods across bandit-infested territories, they hired these agencies.
Ah, so they're like ancient armored trucks.
Exactly. The escorts were seasoned martial artists, diplomats, and tacticians. They were used to dealing with violent challengers and maintaining complex networks of alliances.
So Huang Yun is not some random guy. He is a highly trained professional who handles violence for a living.
He's seen it all.
He hears this giant screaming his name, walks outside, and is confronted with a behemoth. And what follows is one of the most hilariously blunt conversations I have ever read.
It's so good.
Huang asks, "Are you looking for someone?" Lu Tong says, "The guy named Huang." Huang asks us what for, and Lu Tong says, "To get 200 taels of silver."
Huang Yun is trying to establish a logical baseline. He asks, "Do I owe you money?" Lu Tong replies, "Nope." Huang asks, "Do you even know who I am?" Lu Tong replies, "Nope."
I just love how honest he is.
It's incredible. At this point, a more arrogant martial artist might have drawn a weapon to defend his honor against the disrespect. But Huang Yun is a pragmatist. He asks, "If you don't know me and I don't owe you, why are you asking for money?"
And Lu Tong, completely incapable of deception, just spills Yin Daodi's entire plot. He says, "The guy named Yin told me to find you and ask for 200 taels. He said, with my head and my size, you have to give it to me."
This raises an important question, right? How do different tiers of society deal with disruption?
Right.
The commoners, the hunters, deflected out of fear. But Huang Yun, the professional martial artist, looks this terrifying, unrefined brute and immediately recognizes raw asset value.
Exactly. He doesn't see a threat. He sees the ultimate bodyguard.
A golden opportunity.
If you run an armed escort agency, having a 10-foot-tall invincible giant on your payroll is incredibly good for business. So Huang Yun employs a genius de-escalation tactic. He doesn't fight. He validates Lu Tong's goal of getting silver, but redirects the target and doubles the prize.
He invites Lu Tong inside and says, "Don't worry about the 200 taels. I know a man you can get 400 taels from."
He's shifting the burden.
Yes, passing the buck once again. But this time, it is a strategic referral.
He tells Lu Tong to go to Yushan County, find a famous martial arts hero named Awe-Inspiring 8 Directions. Yang Ming give him a letter and demand 400 taels. He gives Lu Tong 10 taels of silver for travel expenses.
So now the buck has gone from the mother to the philanthropic grain store owner to the hunters to the bodyguard and is now heading for a high-ranking martial arts hero.
But getting from Changshan County to Yushan County takes 8 days, and it is an absolute catastrophe.
It is a masterpiece of dark irony.
Why is that?
Well, Lu Tong is physically unstoppable. He is heavily armed. And thanks to Huang Yun, he is now relatively wealthy, carrying 10 taels of solid silver.
Right.
Yet his journey is a miserable, starving ordeal,
Yeah.
entirely because of his own behavioral mechanics.
He needs to ask for directions again, but his previous method of threatening to behead people caused everyone to just run away when they saw him coming.
Yeah, word travels fast.
So he decides to refine his technique. Instead of a frontal assault, he tries stealth.
Oh, no.
A 10-foot-tall man with an iron mace doing stealth. He sees two guys talking on the outskirts of a village, sneaks up behind one of them, clamps his massive hand around the guy's neck and says, "Don't run, kid."
The companion naturally sprints away in terror.
Of course.
The man caught in the grip frantically answers the question, pointing north toward Yushin County. Lu Tong, satisfied, lets him go. But he doesn't just release him, he drops him.
Just lets gravity do the work.
And because Lu Tong's strength is so disproportionate, the sheer impact of being dropped breaks the man's leg.
He breaks a guy's leg just by putting him down. And word spreads fast. The local population realizes there's a giant monster wandering the roads who pinches necks and breaks legs. So what do?
They adapt.
The text notes that bad people, meaning people who just want him as far away from their village as possible, intentionally lie to him. When he asks for directions, they tell him to go south when he needs to go north.
This is the paradox of his power. His overwhelming physical dominance is the exact mechanism that renders him powerless in the world of information.
Oh, that's a great point.
By instituting a campaign of terror just to ask a question, he deprives himself of accurate data, constantly doubling his travel time.
It's like driving a massive, unstoppable bulldozer through a city just to get to the grocery store. Sure, nothing can stop you, but you're destroying the very roads you need to travel on, and eventually you're going to get stuck in the rubble of your own making.
Exactly.
And to make matters worse, despite having 10 taels of silver, he doesn't eat for 2 days.
Right, and this requires an understanding of this historical dual currency system.
Break that down, because I was a little confused by why he didn't just buy food.
In ancient China, everyday transactions for commoners were conducted using minted copper coins strung together on strings.
The strings of cash he was used to getting.
Right. Silver, on the other hand, was used for large transactions and tax payments. It came in ingots called taels, which had to be weighed on specialized scales and assayed for purity by merchants.
Right, so you can't just walk up to a street vendor, hand them a massive chunk of silver, and ask for a steamed bun.
No, they wouldn't have the change and they wouldn't have the scales to weigh it.
Precisely. Lu Tong only understands the one string of copper cash he used to get from the grain store or the hunters. He doesn't understand the concept of currency exchange, of handing a large piece of silver to an innkeeper and receiving a meal, a room, and smaller copper change in return.
So here is this terrifying, invincible giant, wandering in circles, starving, entirely defeated by the concept of making change and polite conversation.
It's hilarious and sad all at once.
It takes him 8 agonizing days before he finally gets accurate directions from a good person and arrives at Yang Ming's house.
And his arrival at the estate of awe-inspiring 8 directions, Yang Ming, is perfectly on brand.
Oh, totally.
He walks up to the door and just smashes it with his iron rod.
No knock-in for him.
Nope. The steward comes running out in a panic, and Lu Tong demands 400 taels of silver from Yang Ming. Yang Ming comes out, looks at this brute, and goes through the exact same diagnostic questions Huang Yun did. Do I owe you money? No. Then why are you asking?
And Lu Tong bluntly states, "The bodyguard named Huang sent me." He hands over the 10 taels of silver and the letter.
And what happens next?
Yang Ming opens the letter, reads it, and the text explicitly tells us that his mind immediately grasps the entire situation. And that is exactly where this specific excerpt leaves us hanging.
It is a brilliant cliffhanger.